Hi, welcome to another video. This video is on common writing errors. It turns out that when people write, they generally tend to make the same mistakes over and over and over again, and most people make these mistakes. And what I did is I put together the 14 biggest mistakes that people make when they write. And I just want to tell you that when some of these mistakes are so common, you see them so much that when you see what I'm about to show you, you're going to sort of ask yourself, are you sure that's right? I mean, are you sure that's a mistake? Yes, it is a mistake. Everything you're about to see is in fact a mistake. And don't repeat it. What happens is these mistakes are repeated and repeated and repeated, and everybody thinks that they're actually correct, but they're not. And anybody with an education, when they see these mistakes, just sort of slap their palms to their forehead and get disappointed. So if you want to write like you have a brain in your head, because you do, you're going to work hard to not make these mistakes. And I'll tell you one other tip. The other tip is that when these mistakes, there's really not a lot of tricks to learning it. In order to do it right, you just have to do it right over and over and over and over again. I mean, there's really no clever little trick. You just have to practice doing it right. So I've talked enough. Let's get started. Okay, so here, this is the brain sheet, which is downloadable from the site. And the reason why we're doing this is, I mean, take a look at this picture. Would you wear this shirt? Of course not. Of course you wouldn't wear it. It's got a big stain on it. That makes it look bad. And grammar mistakes are like stains. They make your writing look bad. When you make these mistakes, it's like a big stain on an otherwise nice shirt. So that's a metaphor right there. So let's get started. First of all, okay, here what you're going to do is the first thing you're going to do is try to find the mistake in each of these sentences. So what you ought to do is first try to find the mistakes in each of these sentences on page 2. You should find mistakes in all of them. And if you can't find a mistake, then you have some learning to do right now. So what you should do is do this now and stop the video. And when you and then continue on with the video after you're done. All right? All right. So now let's assume you're done. Let's get started. First of all, a lot is 2 words. Okay? It is 2 words. It's not 1 word. This is probably the most common thing that you see. All right? It is 2 words. If you wouldn't say, if you say I have a pen, I have a dog, I have a cat, there's a space between a pen, a dog, and a cat. And you should do the same thing with this. It's 2 words. A lot. It's 2 separate words. And you see this so much that people are just writing it. And everybody with an education, when they see this, like I said, they just kind of go, oh my God. All right. So the exercise is to rewrite these incorrect sentences so they are correct. All right. Great. Next one. Confusing loose and lose. All right, this word is lose. It rhymes with news. It's a verb. It means you can't find something, or the opposite of win. Okay, like don't lose your keys, I hope we don't lose too much time, etc. This word is loose. It rhymes with goose. It's an adjective meaning not tight, like your pants are too loose, my wedding ring is too loose. Is your phone not charging because of a loose connection? People are constantly confusing this. They're constantly putting this in for this and this in for this. Don't do it. This is loose. This is lose. And here is some examples that you should read, and then you should get all of these correct. You're going to write lose, lose, loser, losing, loose, or looser in the blanks. Okay? Only one of them are correct for each of these. So make sure that you don't confuse loose and lose. All right, the next one. Using apostrophes to show plurals. This is a really common thing. I think that what happens, I think a lot of people when they were in elementary school had a teacher that used to just really scream at them if they didn't put an apostrophe in before an S. And so what they do is they overcompensate and put apostrophes before every single S. All right, and that's wrong. Like for example, this here, this is wrong. There's no apostrophe there. Just because it's an S, you don't automatically add an apostrophe. The only time that you use an apostrophe is to show possession. Okay, like John's car, Susan's house, the cat's claws. You never use an apostrophe to show a plural. Well, almost never. Let's just say never. And a plural is when there's more than one of something. Now here are some examples, okay? I have 3 pencils in my book bags. This means no, no. There's no apostrophe here because just because you have 3 pencils, you don't have to put an apostrophe because nothing belongs to the pencils. Same thing with this sentence here. Okay, there's no apostrophes in that sentence. But here, all right, you have my mother's friend. Now the friend belongs to your mother. So there, it's okay that there's an apostrophe. It doesn't mean that you never put apostrophes, but you only put apostrophes to show that something belongs to something else. All right? So take a look at this, make sure you get it right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to circle the mistakes. There are mistakes with apostrophes, and there's 2 different kinds of mistakes in this paragraph. The one is that there's apostrophes when there does not need to be, when they do not need to be, and then there are no apostrophes when there should be. All right? And some of the apostrophes that are there are correct. So you have to go through this like an English teacher and circle all of the mistakes. Circle when there is an apostrophe where there should not be, and circle when there is no apostrophe where there should be. All right? Next one, not capitalizing I, I'm, and I'll. Okay, you always capitalize these words. Now, there are very, very few rules in English where this word applies. Always. There's actually very, very few, but this is one of them. When you write I, like I want to go to the store, I'm, I'll, I'd, and I've, you always capitalize them every single time, even if it's in the middle of the sentence. Okay, you're never going to write this. Now, when I say this one here, okay, that doesn't mean that you're never going to write a lowercase I. Like this here is a lowercase I. That doesn't mean this. That means if you're going to say things like, I want to go home, let me move it down a little bit. I want to go home, okay? When you say I, if you're going to talk about yourself, I, as one word, then you always capitalize it. The same thing with these. You always capitalize I'm, I'll, I'd, I've, and I. Every single time without exception. All right, and here are some examples that you should be looking at, and it should be pretty clear to you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to rewrite this sentence so it's correct, and you're going to capitalize all the I's, I'ls, and I'ms. Okay? All right, next, here's another one, texting instead of writing. Okay, you only use texting abbreviations when you're texting someone, okay? Never use texting abbreviations when you're writing anything else. This includes emails, letters, essays, and everything else except a text message. All right, now what I hear when I'm in the classroom is, but this is how we write. Okay, that's fine, okay, but it's wrong. I'm just telling you, it's wrong, all right? Don't write an English paper with these things in it. You should not do this. It makes you look really silly. See you later. You can do it when you're texting, but don't do it when you're writing. Don't abbreviate. Don't abbreviate when you write. Okay? You have to spell everything out. No you. This is not a word. It's an abbreviation. Okay? So when you write, you should say, you should spell out everything you write so your writing looks good. See you later. Spell it out like just like that. Okay? And again, people are, students are always saying, but this is okay. It's not okay. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, and you may think that I'm out of my mind, but I'm telling you that as soon as you're writing an email, when you get a job and you start writing emails and you communicate with other people, if you do this here, people are going to think less of you. I'm just telling you the truth, okay? You're showing that you don't know how to write correctly. And it doesn't, this is not the point of view of an old person. This is not the point of view of somebody who's boring. This is the way it is now in business and when you get out of school. And you should just not ever do this when you write, please. Your English teachers, your co-workers, and your supervisors are all begging you. Please don't do this unless you are texting somebody. Okay. Next one, confusing your and your. Okay, they sound exactly the same. Your and your, exactly the same. This your means belongs to you. Okay? Your car is beautiful. Tell me your favorite story. Give it your best shot. And your, it sounds exactly the same, but with an apostrophe, it's the same as you are. So see, it says you're a very funny person. It's the same as saying you are a very funny person, or you are going to make me laugh again. Okay? And here are some more examples. Okay? You should be able to see and understand why the yours that are there are correct. All right, now what you're going to do here is you're going to write your or your in the blanks. So if it's the same as you are, then you're going to write the you apostrophe re. Like right here, see the sentence right here? You wouldn't say you are dog. Okay, you are dog. It doesn't make any sense. That's why it has to be this one. But here, you are going to lose your balance and fall if you are not careful. That makes sense. So because it's the same as you are, okay, because you are fits, if you are fits, then this your is correct. But if it doesn't make any sense, then it's this your that you've got to use. Okay, so here you wouldn't say you are best bet is to remember. That doesn't make any sense. So it's got to be this your. And again, the only way to do this is to practice. You just got to practice and get it right. And hopefully your teacher is telling you when you use this incorrectly. And just the best way to learn how to do it is to rewrite it and just rewrite it correctly over and over and over again. It's repetition, dozens and dozens and dozens, possibly hundreds of times. You just have to do it right. And there's really no secret trick to learning how to do it. You just have to just practice and practice, and eventually you'll get it right. All right, let's move on. Here we go. Now here's the big one. This is the big one, confusing there, and there. Each one of these are pronounced exactly the same. They sound exactly the same, and this is the big one. This confuses more people than any other confused words, especially this there with this there. It's just all over the place. And unfortunately, there really is no trick or secret little memory device to learning it. You just have to practice it over and over and over again. This is the same as they are. This is sort of the same as this here. Like you apostrophe re means you are, and this they apostrophe re is the same as they are. You can try to remember it that way. There means not here. You can kind of remember it. One of the ways I remember it is if you do like, if it's there is not here. If that helps you. If it's over there, it's not here. Okay, and this there means belongs to them. And this there is the same as they are. So you've got there are my keys, put your book over there, there is not enough love in the world today, etc. That's this there. If something belongs to them, it's their car is beautiful, give them their money, look at their cute little puppy. And this is they are going with us. They are here already. Do you know they are not ready to go yet? Okay, see, these are the examples. So again, you just have to look at it and practice it over and over and over again. And I just want to sort of caution you, some people when they write and they see this sort of thing, they sort of kind of roll their eyes and they say, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to write it. Who cares? Well, I have news for you, okay? It does matter. It matters a lot. And people do care. When you get this wrong and mess it up, people, like I said before, will think less of you. They are going to think less of you. They're going to think you have less brains than you do because you're confusing this. Just listen to your English teacher and practice writing it correctly. And here there's more examples which you should read and make sure you understand. And then here's a good exercise where you write there, or there in the blanks. And if you get these all right, please be aware of it. What happens, I see in the classroom, is that students will get this correct, and then a week later they'll write something and completely confuse these things all over again. You know what I do? I give them this sheet back, and I make them do this again, and I make them do it again until they get it right. Because it's important to get these things right. If it wasn't important, I wouldn't be telling you it was important. I'm not here to waste your time with silly things. This is actually a big one, and you need to make sure that you get these right. Okay? Let's move on. Writing non-words. Okay. The media, which means television and newspapers, they really, really dumb things down for young people. They dumb things down, and they write words that are non-words, like gotta, gonna, and they do things like cuz, and they write girls with a Z and smiles with a Z and all this other garbage. There is no such word as gotta. There's no such word as gonna. Now you could argue and say, well, it is a word because it's in the dictionary and people use it all the time, and if people use it all the time, it's a word. Okay, well, let me clarify myself then. It's not a part of standard English. It's not a word that you should be using in in your writing when you're in English class, or when you get a job and you write an email to people. You should please don't ever write stuff like this. Okay? Yeah, when we talk, we say I gotta go, or I'm gonna go get some milk. Yeah, that's what we say. Listen, I'm gonna go get some milk. Okay? And girl, we don't say girls. Okay? It is girls. I mean, when we say girls and boys and cars, there is a Z on the end of it, but that's not how it's spelled. You have to write it out correctly when you're writing for your English teacher, or for your writing when you want to be seen as an intelligent person, which I certainly hope you want to be seen as. Then you have to write it out. I have to go, I am going to go, or I will go get some milk, or something like that. But please don't write non-words. Okay? And it's because. Don't write cuz. And English plurals end in S or EZ, not in Z. Okay, don't write. And here's some examples here. Okay, I'm a teen, so I don't gotta write right. I'm gonna make thick bucks anyways. I mean, it's enough to send your English teacher into convulsions. And if you write this in the business world, they'll just laugh at you behind your back. I mean, they are gonna laugh at you behind your back. So just make sure that you understand how to write this correctly. And also, don't be afraid of a period, okay, and exclamation points. They're called end punctuation, and make sure that you put them at the end of your sentences. It does matter. It does matter. People do see it. They do notice it, and so please make sure you do it right. And here's an exercise which you should rewrite so it is correct. All right. Run-on sentences is something I'm really not going to cover a lot in this video, because there's another brain sheet called sentences which will cover that. So just search the website for sentences. But a run-on sentence is, I'm just going to be sort of brief. A run-on sentence is a sentence where you smash a bunch of sentences together without using a period or end punctuation. This is a run-on sentence. You did not use a period to stop one sentence and start another. It is very difficult to read this sort of writing. Okay? You have to correct it, put a period in there, and stop it. This is a run-on sentence, period. You did not use a period to stop one sentence and start another, period. It is very difficult to read this sort of writing, period. Okay, so just make sure a run-on sentence is when you smash a bunch of sentences together. Please don't do that. And this is sort of tricky. Again, just search the website for sentences. It's a separate brain sheet, and it's a pretty good explanation of how to fix this. If you really need more help with it, just read this here, and you're going to try doing. This is the exercise. This is one gigantic long run-on sentence. And what you're going to do is you're just going to put a period after each sentence in this long, confusing run-on sentence. For example, the giant tree was hit by lightning, the little family of birds. Okay, right here, the period goes here after lightning. The giant tree was hit by lightning, period. So you're going to put a nice dark period right there. Okay? Make it nice and dark so your teacher can see it. All right? Let's move on. This is a really common one. And it's, okay, here are the words. The words are would have, could have, and should have. Not would have, could have, should have. We say it. We say woulda, coulda, shoulda. Would have, could have. But believe it or not, correctly when you write it, it's would have, could have, should have. Very, very common mistake. Don't ever write would have, could have, or should have. Always have. I mean, it's just the way it is. I know it may surprise some of you because you see this all the time. Every time you see it, it's wrong. It's would have, could have, and should have. Just remember that. And just rewrite these sentences so they're correct. This is another big confusion, which is the confusion between where and were. Where rhymes with air. Were rhymes with fur. And it's a really common thing. I see this a lot where should be. I see them all confused. Where are my keys? They're probably where you left them. Or I wish we were in English class. They were having lots of fun there. just make sure that you don't get these two things confused. And these are some more examples of how to use where and were correctly, and just put in where and were correctly in the blanks. Okay, just try to get them right. And don't put that H in when you're saying were. If you say we were there, don't put that H in there. It's were like that. All right, the next example is sentence fragments. Again, this is covered in the sentences brain sheet, which you can search the website on. A sentence fragment is just part of a sentence. You can read this. I'm not going to cover all of it in the video here, but if you say things like this, always wants to go, or Juan and Steve every Tuesday, those are called sentence fragments. A fragment is a part of something. A fragment is when if you drop a glass jar, it breaks into fragments. So a sentence fragment means that you've only written part of a sentence, and it's a really common thing that happens. Like people just say running down the street, believe it or not. And you're probably wondering, you probably want to say, well, wait a minute, I wouldn't write running down the street. I mean, I wouldn't write that. But you know what? It sneaks in when you're writing paragraphs. When you're writing and you're telling a story or explaining something that happened, you're trying to convince people of things. You're writing, and sure enough, right in the middle of all of that is a sentence fragment. And it sort of makes sense in the context of the other sentences, but every sentence by itself has to have a subject and a predicate. And we're going to, and you can just read this and go through it. And by the way, a fragment, it doesn't matter how long the sentence is. A fragment can be short or long. Just read this document, and you should get it. Again, it's also covered in that sentences brain sheet. Okay, and there's some information here about how to solve the problem of sentence fragments, and you can just read that, and it gives you a good idea of how to solve the problem. And then in here, what you're going to do is this paragraph here contains a bunch of sentence fragments. And what you're going to do is you're going to find them and fix them. Okay? So here, you see it says 2 men, comma, carrying briefcases, period, walked into the bank. See this walked into the bank? That's a fragment. And so is 2 men carrying briefcases. They're both fragments, so what you have to do is put them together. So you see, so you're going to follow along with this example. You're going to cross out the comma that doesn't belong there and cross out that period that doesn't belong there. Scratch out the capital W and make it a lowercase w, see? So now it's 2 men carrying briefcases walked into the bank. That's correct. See what I mean? So just mark it up like you're an English teacher. Cross out what doesn't belong there and write above it. See, there's gaps here. There's like spaces here, that's why. Just write above it what should be, so that all the sentence fragments in this paragraph are corrected. It's not real easy to do, but just give it your best shot. You'll probably get them all right if you pay attention to it. And you try to think about this. You try to think, does this sentence by itself make sense? And if it doesn't, it's probably a sentence fragment. Okay, the next thing is mixing past and present tense verbs. This is a really common thing, especially for people where English was not their first language for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why. I'm not an expert on all languages, but I see this. I saw my little cousin playing. I went up to him and we talked for a long time. This is a really common mistake. Okay, it's talked, because if you say I saw, that is past tense. So everything has to stay in the past tense. So this has to be talked. The word talked, because that's past tense, and it gives you an idea tells you about past tense ed, because in most cases verbs in English end in ed when they're in the past tense. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just look at this paragraph and you're going to fix it by sticking in a little insertion there and fixing all the verb tense errors. This is the first one. He couldn't. See, if you say he could not, that's past tense, so it has to be looked. This whole paragraph is set in the past. So every time you see a verb that's not past tense, you have to correct it and change it into a past tense verb. All right, and here's the big one, confusing its and its. Both sound the same. Its with an apostrophe is the same as it is. Its without an apostrophe means belongs to it. That's it. It's simple, but it's hard. See this? It's raining outside. It's the same as it is raining outside, right? Sounds good? If it sounds good, if you can say it is, then it's this one. If you can't say it is, then it's this one. So look at this, see? If you say, the baby is looking at its mother. Now if you would change this here to it is, it would say the baby is looking at it is mother. See, it doesn't make any sense. So if it doesn't make any sense to put the it is there, then you have to use this one. If it makes sense, then you use the one with the apostrophe. That's it. And here are the examples. There's some examples here. Okay, like if you say it's nice to see you again. If you say it is nice to see you again, sounds right, then you got it right. Then this is right. But if you would say the cat licked its paws, if you would change that to the cat licked its paws, see what I mean? It's no good. It doesn't sound right. So if it's no good, then you've got to use the it. See? Just read this here and work with your teacher. And just this is a really, really common mistake, a really common confusion. And just try not to make it. And again, the only way to fix it is to just practice doing it over and over again. All right. And here you're going to write its or it apostrophe s or its in the blanks. And you should get these all right. Here are some homework assignments. There's 3 of them. You can certainly refer to all this stuff in this booklet. Just do these 3 homeworks. They go basically in order of what was covered in the booklet. You're just going to take these sentences and rewrite them so they're correct. Every single one of these sentences has at least 1 mistake in all these homework assignments. Oh, this is blank. In all these homework assignments, every single one of these sentences has at least 1 mistake. And you have to find the mistake and rewrite the sentence so that it is correct. Remember to use end punctuation. And here's the 3rd one. All right. Like for example, you see this sentence. I hope you can see the mistake. There's 3 mistakes in it. Actually, no, there's 2 mistakes in it. Okay? So just find the mistakes and rewrite them so they're correct. Turn them in, get an A, and you will have made a huge strides forward to making your writing just perfect, which is the goal. And listen, thanks a lot for watching. This was a long video, but I sure hope it helped. And I really hope it helped you, and I will see you again in another video.